In 1944, the Second World War is coming to an end. Finland and the Soviet Union have signed the Moscow Armistice, which stipulates that Finland must disarm the Nazis and expel them from the Lapland region. The Nazis adopt a scorched earth strategy, destroying all roads, bridges, villages, and towns in their path. Hello, welcome! The film I will summarize is Sisu from 2023, so subscribe to the channel to receive the best summaries. In the heart of the wild Lapland nature, Korpi, a former Finnish commander, decides to leave the war behind. With his faithful dog by his side and a sturdy horse, Korpi continues searching for gold in the river, persisting until he finds a small golden grain indicating he is on the right track. Now that he has confirmation, Korpi begins digging holes all over the area, ignoring the planes flying overhead, distancing himself from a war he does not want to be involved in. After many days of seemingly pointless digging, he finally discovers a significant gold deposit and rejoices intensely. He divides the enormous find into several nuggets and hides them in his tent, staying up all night to ensure no one steals them. The next morning, Korpi puts all the gold in a bag and sets off on his horse, closely followed by his dog. A few hours later, he encounters a group of Nazi soldiers led by General Bruno. They are accompanied by a dangerous tank and a truck full of kidnapped women, whom the soldier Wolf takes advantage of. Korpi simply continues riding, exchanging glances with Bruno, but ignoring them all. Wolf wants to shoot him, but Bruno stops him, saying the man is walking to his death anyway. As Korpi continues his journey down the road, he comes across the bodies left behind by the Nazis, but remains undeterred. Eventually, he encounters a truck with 4 more soldiers who order him to dismount. They inspect the bags and find the gold, believing they can keep it. So Korpi starts planning and orders his dog to flee. One of the soldiers tries to shoot the dog, but fortunately, the animal manages to run away quickly. Next, the soldier calls Korpi Grandpa and tries to shoot him as well. But Korpi grabs his knife and, with a swift movement, stabs him in the head, killing him instantly. The other soldiers try to fight him in revenge, but Korpi moves quickly and confronts them, using his knife to stab them and using the bodies as shields when someone tries to shoot him. He attacks a soldier with a helmet, and when attacked from behind, Korpi twists the soldier's arm and kills him with his own weapon. Bruno and the others hear the shots and return to check, finding a massacre scene on the ground and Korpi gone. Examining one of the bodies, Bruno finds a gold nugget the soldier had hidden in his pocket. Deciding to pursue Korpi, they find the Nazis encountering Korpi on the road, and the tank starts firing at him. Korpi makes his horse gain speed and manages to dodge all the shots, but ends up accidentally in a minefield. Bruno orders his men to stop shooting and waits for Korpi to step on a mine. However, the horse absorbs most of the explosion, leaving Korpi injured but still alive. Waking up dazed, Korpi bids farewell to his horse before preparing to counterattack. The Nazis approach, and Korpi grabs the gold that had fallen from the bag. Seeing this, Bruno has his vehicle stop and waits until Korpi finishes, avoiding the risk of retrieving the gold themselves. When Korpi finishes, Bruno orders his soldiers to shoot, but Korpi is prepared. He grabs a rock along with the gold and throws it onto a mine, causing it to explode. The resulting smoke provides cover, and when the Nazis open fire, Korpi uses his gold pan as a shield. After a few minutes of indiscriminate shooting, Bruno sends a young soldier to check on Korpi, but he steps on a mine, taking the explosion to his face and dies. Bruno then sends 2 soldiers to flank the road, but both quickly step on mines. When the smoke clears, they discover Korpi has disappeared. Desiring to pursue him, Bruno orders 2 women to move forward as a safety check. Wolf selects the most frightened ones, so Aino volunteers in their place. Meanwhile, Bruno checks the area and finds Korpi's identification. Moments later, the group continues advancing with the 2 women tied to the front of the vehicles. Bruno uses the tank's radio to get information about Korpi and receives shocking news. His superiors order him to stop the pursuit and state that they are lucky to still be alive. Korpi was the most feared commander in Finnish history, and no one wanted to face him. He fought in the Winter War, lost his home and family to the Russians, becoming a vengeful and relentless soldier who took orders from no one. The Finns gave up trying to impose discipline or control over him, simply sending him alone into the wilderness to hunt Russian patrols. He became a lone killer, with reports claiming he has over 300 Russian kills to his name. He is known as Koshchei, nicknamed the Immortal. The story does not intimidate Bruno, who still wishes to find Korpi as he seeks the gold to buy his freedom, knowing the Nazis are losing the war. Meanwhile, Korpi continues moving forward until he comes across a burned truck with a corpse inside. Using it as cover, he lies behind the vehicle and tends to his injuries, removing the bullets with his knife and plugging the holes with dirt. Suddenly, his dog appears, but the faithful animal watches him from a distance, staying obedient. Eventually, Korpi falls asleep, only to wake up a few hours later upon hearing a noise. The Nazis have arrived and brought tracking dogs to follow Korpi's scent. Immediately, Korpi hides under the burned truck and watches the Nazis pass, realizing the dogs are on his trail. He waits until the last truck passes and grabs onto it, being carried along. He then punctures the fuel tank, causing the fuel to spill and impair the dog's sense of smell, making it impossible for them to follow his trail. The soldiers stop to devise a new plan, at which point Korpi tries to escape. Unfortunately, the dogs spot him immediately and start barking to reveal his presence. A soldier manages to shoot Korpi in the leg, but he continues moving forward, so Bruno releases the dogs after him. Korpi doesn't hesitate to light a match and set his gasoline-soaked clothes on fire, scaring the dogs away. Next, the soldiers approach him, and Korpi jumps into a lake. Bruno orders his men to wait until Korpi surfaces to breathe, which takes a long time due to the protagonist's excellent lung capacity. When Korpi's head finally emerges from the water, the soldiers shoot immediately, and the blood in the water makes them believe they hit him. 3 soldiers board a boat and navigate to the center of the lake to find the gold. However, as soon as one of the soldiers dives into the water, Korpi surprises him from behind and kills him with his knife. When only blood emerges on the surface, Bruno orders the second soldier to enter the water, but again, only blood reappears. The third soldier is supposed to go next, but he is terrified and starts backing away in the boat. Seeing this as betrayal, Wolf shoots him. This situation gives Korpi the opportunity to steal the body and use it as protection while escaping, as the soldiers shoot in vain. At this moment, Korpi's dog appears and howls because it can't cross the water to follow its master, but Bruno realizes Korpi's next plan. After hours of walking, Korpi finally reaches the nearest town, but he is devastated to find it ablaze, lighting up the night sky. Too exhausted to continue, he decides to rest inside a destroyed gas station and tries to sleep while dealing with the pain in his leg, causing him to have visions of the day he lost his family. Unfortunately, when he finally manages to fall asleep, he is immediately awakened by some barking. Korpi goes outside to find his dog, only to discover a lit stick of dynamite tied to its collar. He quickly removes it and throws it, but it explodes so close that Korpi is thrown to the ground. He is then found by Bruno, Wolf, and Schutze, who bring a rope to tie him to a sign. Korpi doesn't say a word, and out of respect for such a formidable opponent, Schutze removes his hat. Bruno and Wolf quickly follow suit. Before they leave with the bag of gold, Bruno mocks him, leaving a nugget in his pocket for his troubles. After they leave, Korpi demonstrates his tenacity and steps on a nail in the sign to keep his body upright, going further by pressing his leg wound against a second nail. It is painful, but it keeps him alive through the night, with his dog still by his side. The next morning, a plane lands near the station, and the vibration causes the sign to bend and Korpi to fall to the ground. 2 pilots come out looking for fuel, and one of them finds Korpi and the dog, who won't stop barking. The second pilot orders him to kill them, but when the man hesitates, Korpi kicks his legs, causing the man to fall and hit his head on debris, dying. The dog keeps barking, so the first pilot goes to check, giving Korpi the opportunity to surprise him from behind and knock him out with a brick. Korpi is convinced there is no more hope for him and decides to bury the nugget left by Bruno. However, at that moment, the second pilot starts to move, revealing he is still alive. Realizing the pilot could be useful with the plane, Korpi retrieves the gold and formulates a plan. While the pilot watches in horror, Korpi removes all the bullets and metal fragments from his wounds, cauterizing them with fire and closing them with wire before cleaning them with gasoline. They then take off in the plane, leaving the dog behind. Sometime later, the Nazis are forced to halt their journey upon finding a crashed plane blocking the road. Wolf and Schutze approach the plane and find the pilot dead inside. But surprisingly, Wolf's rope is around his neck. Realizing it's a trap, Bruno finally comprehends how terrifying Korpi is and orders his men to leave immediately. Two soldiers follow in the truck with the women, and Aino laughs upon hearing them argue about what is happening. She explains that they won't be able to do what hundreds of Russians died trying to do, and that Korpi isn't literally immortal, he just refuses to die. In Finnish, they call this sisu, which refers to unimaginable courage and determination. Korpi never gives up, so Aino believes all the Nazis will be dead soon. Suddenly, one of the soldiers falls dead, and when the other looks outside, he is dragged out of the truck and falls to the ground, being run over by the approaching tank. Aino tries to grab the dead soldier's weapon, but at that moment, Korpi enters the truck and grabs it first. Realizing they are innocent victims, he allows Aino to keep the gun. Korpi then climbs to the top of the truck and kills the driver by stabbing him through the roof, then removes the body so Aino can take the wheel. She drives the truck closer to the tank so Korpi can jump onto it. When the people inside the tank start to get suspicious, the women use the dead body as a dummy to make it look like everything is fine. After that, Aino drives the vehicle toward another truck transporting most of the soldiers, and the women open fire immediately to kill them while Aino shoots the driver. As the truck falls off the road, the people in the tank realize the danger and start to speed up. Korpi is still on top and begins banging on the door with his pickaxe, causing the tank to stop abruptly and making him fall off. Wolf leaps to shoot Korpi, but he quickly returns to the top of the tank and engages in hand-to-hand combat with Wolf. After a series of brutal blows, both fall to the ground, and the tank departs with only Bruno and Schutze inside. Korpi hits Wolf a few more times, but before he can finish him off, two soldiers arrive on a motorcycle. Upon seeing Korpi, they recognize his fame and immediately flee. Korpi uses the motorcycle to pursue the tank, and for a moment, Wolf thinks he is safe, but then the armed women appear for revenge. Eventually, the tank stops upon encountering a pilot with a functioning plane, but there is only room for one person. Without hesitation, Bruno kills Schutze and escapes with the pilot on the plane. However, Korpi suddenly appears on the motorcycle and starts shooting immediately. He manages to break only the windows before the plane takes off, so he drives directly under it with his pickaxe raised. Bruno looks down and sees the motorcycle moving, assuming they left Korpi behind. But in reality, the bike is empty. Korpi is actually holding onto the plane with the help of his pickaxe. As he tries to reposition himself, he almost falls, but manages to grab onto a wheel and begins making his way inside, creating a hole in the bomb bay floor with his pickaxe. Bruno hears some noises, and the pilot attributes them to the old plane, but Bruno is skeptical and goes to check. As soon as Bruno opens the door, Korpi jumps on him and starts a fight. The punches and kicks are extremely violent, and although Korpi is more skilled, he is severely injured, allowing Bruno to dominate. Bruno becomes frustrated because Korpi neither gives up nor screams and uses a stiff wire to hit him harder, questioning why Korpi won't die. When Bruno tries to hit him faster with the metal end of the wire, Korpi grabs it with his hand and connects it to the bomb before letting go. Bruno falls along with the bomb, and as they hit the ground, they explode instantly. Korpi wants to rest, but suddenly, the plane starts shaking and falling because the pilot was hit by a stray bullet and finally died. Desperate to survive, Korpi grabs the gold and ties himself up before the plane crashes into a swamp, causing another explosion. Meanwhile, a Finnish unit prepares to attack upon seeing a German tank approaching. However, to everyone's surprise, it's Aino and the other women bringing Wolf tied to the cannon. Back in the swamp, Korpi managed to survive the crash thanks to the water, and now he is climbing out with the help of his pickaxe, still holding the bag of gold. Hey, don't forget to like and activate the bell to be notified of new summaries.